All right, guys, here we go. Back for another episode of The Mix Behind the Mic. My name's Harry, co-host Keith DeAngelis. How we doing today, Keith?
Doing great, man. Great to be back here.
Love to be back for another episode. And today we're simply just going to dive right into some hot topics and things to talk about for our upcoming brides and grooms. Keith, start us off today.
So the first topic looks like we're going to be talking about extending the reception. Basically, cocktail versus reception. Like, how do we want to add it on? Do you want to add it on to the beginning or the end kind of a thing, right?
So my staff has multiple feelings about this as far as what makes sense the most, because there's weddings that we do that are absolutely insane, super high energy, but I would still say 7 of them 10 weddings would die out. It doesn't matter how great the DJ is, how great the band is, how great the vibe and the dance floor is. Most of these people have been there 5 hours. Some of them might have pre-gamed, et cetera, and 9 times out of 10, I think extending the reception for a full hour might be a mistake. Now, the conversation that you brought up as far as going back and forth is taking an extra 30 minutes of the cocktail hour and 30 minutes of the reception. So you're extending the cocktail hour by 30 minutes, and now it's a 90-minute cocktail hour, and then extending the reception by 30 minutes. If you're planning to extend your wedding, and most weddings are 5 hours, not counting anything with the ceremony, 1 hour cocktail, 4 hour reception. If you're adding an extra hour, my honest opinion is simply to add 30 minutes to the ceremony, 30 minutes to the cocktail and 30 minutes to the reception. I really think that makes a massive difference because, again, if you just do an hour extra reception, a lot of times it dies down, and we want to end on a high note. We won't want to end that everyone is tired, drunk, slowly just dwindling out, and it just kind of fizzles out at the end.
Kind of makes sense, too, when you think about it, right? Because if you think about it, if you add that extra at the beginning during cocktail and a little bit at the end, you have a little bit longer of the banger party. But then you also have, like, for formalities and things always run long at weddings. Like, let's be honest. You have the best intentions of everything going. You know, it's like trying to do a podcast and do it in a one cut without, you know. But my point is, like, you have the best intentions of everything going the way it's going to go. And I've never seen a wedding that just is, like, right on time and right on point. You always need a little bit more. So having that 30 minutes at cocktail could give you a little bit more time, get ready, get in there, and, you know, make it.
That's a great, and I didn't bring this whole topic up to tell people, like, get an extra hour at your wedding.
Right.
But
if you're going to do it.
If you're going to do it, it does give you a little bit more wiggle room if things run later, things are behind as well. I just think that in the past couple months, we've booked a decent amount of weddings for an extra hour, and it's always the reception extra at the end.
Right.
And like I said, I just think a lot of times it's just not needed, and people think they need to do more. Now, again, there's so many variables here too. Is your wedding on a Friday versus a Saturday? Is your wedding until 11 o'clock and you're extending it to 12 o'clock? Is your wedding over at 10 essentially and you're extending to 11? A lot of people also have an after party somewhere if their wedding's over at maybe 10 or 11 o'clock. And that's a whole separate ordeal. So recently we just had someone call us and book, and they're talking about doing and extending for an hour, and they're like, we're just going to extend an hour instead of trying to do an after party somewhere else, which, again,
That kind of makes sense, though, right?
it's almost our favorite line on the podcast, which is
Expectations versus reality.
yeah, and it's like the expectation is it's going to be so much fun.
Banger.
It's going to fly by, and like we got to extend it. And again, that costs money on every aspect of, from the band or DJ to the venue to the cocktails,
Right.
etc. But you know, so many people. It's so tough for me because it's tough on the business owner aspect of, like, you'd think I'd want them to book the extra hour, but at the same time, I'd rather them go out with a bang on a high note and not have it fizzle out where half the people left because you had it an extra hour. Or, like I said, if it's till 12 and half of the people start to filter out,
Right.
where I'd rather end at 11 on a super high note, or hypothetically 11:30 if you did the suggestion of the 30 and 30, like I said.
I mean, over the, 100 weddings I've done or whatever you want to call it, I've never seen a wedding that is just fully packed. You're always going to lose some people, right? It's just nothing you could do. Like, especially some of the older people are going to go home. So you're already going to be thinned out as it is. Now, if you have like a real banger where just everyone's there and they're still partying, then I guess that's when it would make the most sense
Like I
to.
said, I just really think even like the heaviest hitters, crazy bangers that I've had, I just really think with the additional hour, as good as they are, they would still kind of fizzle out. Not always, of course. And again, I tell the couples all the time, like, you know your groups better than we do, of course. But the
Right.
expectations versus reality just comes into play so much because I think people think that people are just going to keep going
Right.
when realistically it's a long day.
They've given it all.
Especially
They've given it all on that
right.
dance floor at that point.
And like, let's talk about if they have a bigger bridal party, which is great for the DJ aspect because that makes it them getting involved. But that bridal party also started the day 5 hours earlier with you, getting ready, doing the pictures, and they potentially could be drinking out in the sun all day. It's a long day.
Yeah.
So I just think
Totally.
people overthink it sometimes too much.
I completely agree with that one.
What else you got?
So we got let's do this one. Kids at weddings. Let's go right into that.
So I have so many thoughts and opinions on this, and I feel like we've dabbled on it on some of these podcasts, but here's the thing, and I'm saying this as a father of a 5-year-old who's a very active boy. If anyone knows me, follows me, knows that I'm a huge boy dad, and I love my kid. I post about my kid, etc. And like, I want to hang out with my kid all the time, and I love being a dad. But there's time and place for everything, and I just think when we talk about the couple, first off, let's go back. If it's me, I don't think any kid should be at weddings unless they're part of the family in a perfect world, if you will, solely because this is an event for predominantly adults. And I really think if I land the plane the most, the reason I don't prefer kids to be at weddings is because I want their parents to enjoy themselves. Cut and dry.
That's actually a really good.
I want their
a good
parents to
point.
enjoy themselves. And I promise you, when there are kids at my weddings, I don't necessarily care that, the 7-year-old kid asks us to play a song 10 times or something. It's irrelevant. I've been doing this 20 years. I don't care about that. I care about my example a couple weekends ago where the couple had 2 kids, probably 4 and 5, and a boy and a girl, and the bride was so proactive about the planning, about her vision, about her idea, and she just was so excited for her wedding. And the wedding comes, and the wedding was great. But the last 2 hours of the night, which is the predominantly open dance floor, she was MIA half the night because she was attending to her kids. And, by open dance floor, the kids are like in pajamas at this point.
Right.
They're young. And again, these kids have been out for 10 hours at this point,
Yeah.
pictures all day, and they're tired. And the wedding, I think, was over at 11, and it's 9 o'clock. We're opening up the dance floor, and realistically, like, it's probably normally their bedtime. And I get it. It's their family, it's their parents, etc. But it's one of them things where I think the bride missed half of her reception because she was being a mom, which, again,
Right.
you can be a great mom 364 other days of the year. This day is for you. And I just feel bad for the clients that have this vision, and then the day of their wedding, they don't get to experience what they wanted or essentially what they paid for fully because they were entertaining their children late in the night. And I hope that doesn't come off wrong. I don't mean it to sound negative or derogatory.
You just want them to have fun. You just want them.
They have this vision for years.
Right.
And as far as my relationship, I might be working with said couple for a year and a half to 2 years.
Right.
And I think there's something massive about, I always say paint the picture. And when they paint the picture, them with a kid in both arms with 30 minutes left of their wedding in their pajamas in the hallway, not in the reception room, is not what they had in mind.
Right.
And I don't know if this, and listen, there's so many variables here. And again, I'm a dad. Very few people are taking my kid overnight, et cetera, et cetera. And is there not a babysitter? All these things are, full circle, if you
I
will.
feel like there should be a babysitter.
And realistically,
you're having a
at this
kid.
specific wedding I was taking something to the car after the ceremony, and I jokingly saw someone picking up 2 kids that were in the wedding.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's our favorite car of the day that shows up here." Like, and they're like laughing because they, I knew they were like the kids were leaving and whatnot. But it's one of them things where it's just, I don't know if it's stuff that people don't talk about enough. And listen, there's also like, this is a hot topic at things because, again, I always talk about all these bride Facebook groups and stuff I'm in. It's always a hot topic of like, no kids at weddings, or are you bringing kids to weddings? And I see some horror stories about like no kids at weddings, and people were like, well, they'll text or message the bride like, well, I'm not coming if I can't bring my kid.
Right.
Kick rocks.
I
Sorry.
think that
Sorry.
is-
Like, it's absolutely absurd.
That's one of
that
those things
people
where
have-
it's like, if that can't happen, then you just gotta.
Right. And like, how dare you not allow me to bring my kids who are part of the family that, and again, like, how do you say no to kids, but then have a couple kids in the, well, if they're your kids, if they're your nieces, they're part of the bridal party, like, obviously that's the exception. And realistically, in 2025, I don't think there's a lot of kids at weddings anymore, which I'm thankful for. Again, not that I hate kids, I love kids, but I'm thankful for the crisp, clean fun that the adults and parents get to
Probably
have
makes
in
it a
their
little
night
bit
off.
smoother over the
But-
night too, right?
Now it's only I'm seeing their kids, or specifically like the bridal party's kids, and it takes away. But I'm mainly talking about the reception.
Random kids.
It's so tough because, my kid was just in my cousin's wedding.
Right.
And he was the ring bearer. And my son is 5, as I mentioned.
Ring
And
security is what they're doing.
Ring
now.
security. He actually had a T-shirt that said ring security.
That's the new thing. That's one of the trends these days.
But here's a perfect example, and I'm going to completely contradict myself. I was low key. My kid's going to watch this in 10 years and be like, "Damn, Dad!" But like, I was low key terrified about how my kid was going to be for the wedding because, again, I see it all.
Right.
And my kid was utterly amazing for the entire night. I want to say the wedding was over at 10, and I want to say my fiance and him left at 9:30. So they were there pretty
Almost
much
the whole time,
thing.
pretty much.
And I'm going to contradict myself when I say that my kid was on the dance floor. My kid had a circle around him at times. And my kid had the night of his life, and I loved watching that as his dad. And here's one example where it worked out. But I also feel like, I guess it's different when it's the family and whatnot. But we were also in Mexico. So
I guess I got to ask you this question though.
yeah,
Did you have fun even though your kid was there?
it's so crazy because I just contradicted every
I'm
single
making
thing
you
I just
contradict
said.
yourself because I
Yes.
want to come in with devil's
Because
advocate, but I've been letting you
now
go.
you're talking to the dad who was a guest,
Right.
and not the vendor who's at weddings every weekend and gets to
understand.
watch this.
See,
And-
now you answer the question
But
differently
I mean,
as the vendor
hypothetically,
versus
you
the.
can also say that Amanda left early. So I mean, it was only 30 minutes, but like,
All right, so I'm going to land the plane for you on
Sure.
this one. You ready? The vendor in you would like to see the couples not have kids there so that they can have a fun banger time because that's what your goal is as in the entertainment business,
Facts.
in the wedding business. So, but the dad in you love to have your kid there and the kid to have a good time and everyone to have a good
but let
time
me
with
land
them.
the plane, come back.
Uh-huh.
Here's the thing. Okay,
landing planes.
I made it so much more clear in my head, even though I completely just contradicted myself. I enjoyed my son being at the wedding because we were in Mexico.
Yeah.
If one of my friends gets married tomorrow in the city, I'm not even thinking about bringing my, even if it says kids in carriage to come.
Or kids
I'm
in
never
carriage.
bringing my
Right.
son
I understand.
to a wet because of that reason.
My kids are older, but to play devil's advocate and also to be the polar opposite because I'm a girl dad, which is completely different. I think that in certain situations, especially like having those kids there, you gotta look at it like this. It's an experience for them. It's for them to get used to being with family, strangers, friends out there doing things. So I feel like just kids being at a thing like that, at a wedding especially, it's just a good experience for them overall. But I do understand what you're saying. It also depends on the age too, right? Like, I mean, some of the ages, like you're saying 4 and 5 from the last wedding.
That's a complete difference.
That's harder. But if her kids were like 9 or 10, it would have been
Right.
like no brainer. They would have just. I will say one more thing.
Go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Kids destroy my props every time I'm running a photo booth, and it drives me crazy. And they're
That's
not even
great.
my props.
That's great.
They're literally the company's props, but it drives me crazy.
Here's let me follow this up even more. Again, it's all about the age, and let's just say like 7 and younger is where I'm at, because I'll flip it and like I love the 9-year-old son who's the best
Right.
man that gave a speech too and crushes it
Yeah.
on a speech and on the dance floor. I just think that 6 and younger need to go after dinner.
Age limit, right?
It's just, and again, like
kids
90% of these weddings are ending at 10, 11, 12 o'clock.
plain landing, 6 or under.
Beat it after dinner.
Exactly.
Like, and it's just, I feel like we talked about this in the other pod too with Paige when she came on, but it's just, it's one of them things where I saw it specifically again this week. And now that we do the podcast, and I don't do as many weddings as I used to, but like when I do weddings, I feel like the whole time I'm just like observing for things to talk about or look for. And like I saw the bride standing down the hallway with her 2 kids with 30 minutes left, and there's a crazy packed dance floor, and respectfully the groom is dead center of it, like, you know, going hard, and I just 100 yards away see the bride with her kids in the hallway, and I'm just like, I immediately, like, my vibe of super high energy vibes was there. And like when I saw her attending to her children, which again, she's being a great mom, but like my morale just dropped because she wasn't part of that.
The wedding
vibe.
vendor in you, you know, the amazing, you know, wedding MC that you are, wants the banger every time. You want the.
And again, at the end of the night, she told me it was awesome. Like, couldn't be more.
You're
happy.
always going for the hypest.
And
wedding
again, it was
possible.
it was
I get
a great wedding, and realistically, and this is something so important. At the end of the night, she told me it was the best. She couldn't have been more happier with us, and it was great. And in her mind, maybe it couldn't have been better, but from the
Right.
vendor that I saw from afar, I think she could have been a little bit more involved for
In the
herself.
moment, I
Not
get you.
even like
we talk about it a lot, right? Everyone's like kind of like distracted by things, right? I mean, everyone's distracted by their phones and things like
Sure.
that. So being in the moment is very hard for, I think, society at the moment, right? Because you're never in the moment. You're always like away. Like we're together, but we're on our phones. Like, you know, even with it's one of those things where being in
I
the
think
moment is
sometimes
tough.
it's hard to be in the moment.
Yeah, it really is.
And that's where, you know, I have so many friends with kids that will feel guilty, or mom guilt is such a thing that I
Right.
hear people say, where they feel like, oh my God, I could never think of sending my kids off. But again, I just feel
Well,
like
plus, let's add in this. Sometimes, you know, depending on what's going on with the DJ or what they've requested, there can be like curse words in songs which maybe you don't want the kids to hear. And, you know, some couples are like, let's go full-fledged. We want the curses. So now you got kids there. Again, how do you feel about curse words in songs?
very great topic, Keith. It's tough because for me as a wedding vendor who's been doing this for 20 years, I hate saying it, as much as I've been in the bar and club scene over the years, and as much as music is such an important part of me and like love every aspect of music, I don't necessarily care about there being edits. And I feel like if you were listening to how I was going here, I feel like you probably think I'd want the curses. I do not care either way. And if I'm being honest, I'd rather play edited music at a wedding 10 times out of 10 times, always, because we're auditioning for other people.
Right.
We're always hoping we book another wedding at every wedding we do. And I think it's something that the simple ignorance of playing music with a bunch of curse words that have people of all ages in there just really could put a bad taste in people's mouths.
Right.
And more importantly, the couple might be okay with it,
I was just about to say,
but other people there
other
might
people
be
are
offended,
other
or
people might think that it's the
it's on me.
DJ doing it.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Right.
They think, I don't think some, I think all.
Well, I just had a consult, or not a consult, final call with a bride and groom Tuesday, and she specifically said, I don't
Explicit.
like the edited versions.
Okay.
I think it sounds dumb, and we want the curses. Just play the songs.
Now, let's piggyback on this before you. I don't mean to cut
This
you
is
off.
this is an actual thing that happened.
No, yeah,
That is.
but here's a perfect example. Did you say dead ass?
I'm not allowed.
Okay. I was just curious. So as far as this is the difference of different DJs, because when you play edited music, there's some that completely just take out the curse words. There's some things that just add a word in that
Right.
makes no sense, or it's
Right.
like a double word. So when couples will say like, it sounds dumb playing the edited version, I understand where they're coming from, because they're talking about some edits where I wish I could think of something off the top of my head where it just says something where it's, redundant, and you know that it's just not.
I'm thinking of a song right now that I hear sometimes when they take. It's that one that's like, hands on your knees, hands on your knee. But there's one part where it's like, shake that for me. Like they just cut it out and put a double in there.
Exactly. So as far as that goes, overall, like I said, I'd rather not have curses played in songs at weddings. I don't know if I would say it's tacky, but I almost might say it. Maybe I take that word back. Maybe the last hour.
Right.
And realistically, let's
when
be
all
honest,
the kids should have been picked up.
Exactly. But going back to like your consult you just said, she said like she doesn't want any edited songs. But realistically, are you playing really any songs that would need edited before the last 2 hours of the night? Most likely not. So it's really that last 2 hour vibe of, okay, we're playing songs. But what kind of songs are we playing? And let's go back to your console right now, because if they want a lot of top 40 EDM,
there's not going to be a lot of curses in that stuff.
That's
anyway.
my point.
Yeah.
Is it a straight hip hop wedding where there's tons of curses?
And to be honest with you, in the top 40 songs that people are going to be picking, even if there's a curse, it's like one or two little curses. It's not
and again,
anything
that's
crazy.
what I was
It's
just
not like
gonna
we're dropping
say.
the Wu-Tang.
Exactly. So I definitely think that's a big difference in
Makes
what's
sense.
their playlist, and they don't want edited music kind of thing.
Speaking of playlist, that brings me to another topic that I've
Okay.
been meaning to talk to you about, the DJ not being a jukebox. How do you feel about that?
You got to elaborate a little bit more. But so this topic starter that you're so keen on getting to is simply this, okay? I tell couples all the time when we have consults and we have final calls, as far as like how many songs do they want to put together for us for their wedding. And let me clarify that more. When we have a consult, I always say, if you want to give us, some people give us 15 hours worth of music for their 5-hour wedding. If you want to give us, this much music, obviously you have to give us a must play, because your wedding's 5 hours and you're giving us 15 hours worth of music. But I always tell people, if you want us to play a playlist verbatim down for 5 hours and be a glorified jukebox, we will do it. You're paying us. Does anyone on my staff want to do this? Absolutely not. And I'll tell you that right to your face.
I feel like 20 songs is going to give the DJ the vibe. And there's a lot of little, like, people think DJs are a jukebox and all that, and it's easy to do. Let me just elaborate on how hard it is to be a DJ. There are different beats per minute, BPM. There are different,
Can I cut you off for
Go
1
ahead,
second?
cut me off.
But this is so great that you're saying this, because Keith, if you guys don't know, is a videographer, MC, photo booth technician, Cold Sparks technician. He literally does almost everything in the company except
I see everything
except
DJ.
Except DJ.
But
So,
I do have a little mini DJ
okay,
board.
we're not saying
I'm
that. We're not
I'm
taking it away from
dabbling
you.
a little.
But my point
I'll
is
probably
that
never DJ
it's
a
a lot
wedding,
harder than
but
it looks, and I feel like
there's
sometimes
just,
people
but I
don't,
mean, like, even like keeping the songs in sync, because each song has a different like timing that it is. Like, some are only like 85 beats per minute, the other ones are like 125, and the skill of getting from 85 to 125 to mix the songs, you don't realize how much stuff a DJ's actually doing. People, because I follow a lot of like DJs and things like that, just to like see what people are doing and whatnot, MC, whatever. I'm in the wedding business, so clearly I'm going to be doing that stuff. And like, there's some people in the comments that are like, "Oh, this is so easy, just hit buttons." They really think that DJs are not like
that's the whole reason why I brought up you've done everything in the business
except DJ.
except that, because
Listen,
it's not.
if I ever make it there, then that means I've completely done everything.
That's awesome. Full circle. Full circle. So let me flip it on you now,
Yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick, since we'll roll a reverse here. One of my favorite things that we started talking about this at the last pod, and I wanted to follow up today, is every person that we have come on the show as a guest, I want them to try to give me something that, what do you wish the couples knew more of? So as I just mentioned,
Okay.
you doing DJ, excuse me, you being an MC and a videographer, is there anything that comes to mind as a videographer, for starters, that you wish more people knew before their wedding day that they don't?
I don't know. I don't know if it's something I wish they knew, but I think something that I'd like to know basically about them maybe is more like kind of like what I like to know as a videographer is like sometimes couples have like shots in their head that they expect in their wedding. You know,
But they
maybe
don't tell you about up
yeah,
front, or
yeah. I mean, like something like that. Like, they don't really tell us anything. I think for videography, they're just kind of like let you loose. Pictures are always like, we want this. We go, we have like a shot list of pictures. They don't really do that with video. It's kind of like, just whatever you give me, you
well,
give me, which is fine.
think of it this way, because when I do consults, when I talk photo, I'm very specific that they need to vibe and they need to connect, and there's something about vibing with your photographer and they're with you more than anyone on your wedding day, et cetera, et cetera. And when I start talking about video, and I will always say that, our guys are awesome and have great personalities, but I almost say it's slightly a little bit more irrelevant for the video because it is more
Right.
behind the
You're
scenes.
trying to just
And
capture
you're just trying to capture.
You really are just trying to
You
capture.
don't have
those,
to be holding their hand walking around as much as the photographer
exactly.
does it.
Something I really wish that, or something I would want them to know, would be probably that the more movement you're doing, like it's not a picture, right? So for video, I'm always looking to get more movement, action shots, things like that. I want them walking in a field with like
You're like, and hoping
petals
a
of
breeze just
yes, like
happens.
blows the
Right,
like
right.
the petals of a tree. Like, of course, that's what we want in video. That's what we want. We want the super amazing shots, but we also want like cool backgrounds and backdrops, and we don't want you just standing still.
But here's my question. So maybe this is a better way to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
You said, and you're not wrong from my experience, even though I'm very minimal in it. Like, there's shots that they want for the photographer. Would you suggest, and maybe this is something we do for our sheets, but like, is it something that you wish that, hey, is there anything out of the ordinary? Is there anything that you want to make sure we capture today? I'll give you another perfect example. When I talk video in consults, I always mention, like, let us know if you have an 85-year-old grandmom in there that you want to make sure is in the wedding
That's
video
definitely
as much as possible.
So that I'll interject real quick again as we're trying to land the plane more these days. I really think that as a videographer, I really want to know if there's going to be any surprises, because that's really surprises and anything that they want captured, like older grandparents and things like that.
Realistically,
because I need to know if someone's going to bust out
work in the final call,
right?
etc.
But
it's not always is. I totally get that.
So going back to about a year ago, there was a surprise where I think she was going to bust, and this was in the paperwork. But sometimes there's sometimes brides and grooms try to hide little surprises from each other.
Sure.
And that's when you're like, all right, well, what's going on? And we're on these like final calls, and we're all in like group chats and emails. It's like you can't talk about something because you don't want to maybe let the cat out of the bag of something they don't know. And there was like a line dance that I think the bride wanted it and the groom didn't, and she was like made it a surprise, or he made it. But something happened where like somebody didn't want it, somebody wanted it, and they made it a surprise to play it. And then I came out. I think I was emceeing that one. I was like, all right, this one's for the bride. We got, and then the wobble came on or something like that.
All right, so let me dive into this.
Okay.
Well, let's end this segment, if you will, today on some new trends.
All right.
And there's a couple things that I just recently saw this week that I was like, oh, we're definitely talking about this on the pod. So the first one is, and this works for both of us as we are both ordained ministers. Oh my God, I haven't mentioned this. All these things Keith does. I have not mentioned that he is a ordained minister as well.
By the power vested in me, by the universal church of life, I now pronounce you husband and wife. I've now married everyone watching.
So before I get into this, let's take this back. So I got to tell a funny story. So most of our MCs are ordained ministers, which makes it that much easier to not hire an extra person for your wedding if you don't need to. So I'm like, Keith, you got this. This couple, they want us to provide an officiant. You're on the wedding. It's time. We're going to make you a ordained minister as well. I have this couple that decided they want to use you as their officiant. And I'm like, cool, like whatever, let's get it. Now I'm like, Keith, we have the standard process and whatnot. And
nice, easy script
for you to read.
Right?
I'm like, you'll get it down verbatim after doing it a couple times. So this particular couple, and I always try to like not be specific about talking about couples, but like if they're watching, they're going to know exactly.
But this is how my luck works with anything. If there's something weird that's going to happen, it's going to be to me.
Please give me the example in your own words.
Oh, I already know
what you were supposed to say on your.
They handed me a script was like 7 pages. Willest thou taketh this couple to be like you were William Shakespeare, like where, and I'm like,
I love it.
Oh my God, I'm going through it, and like
I wish I was there to watch.
Oh my God, you're like, yeah, it's easy. I do a little script. A ring is a ring. Oh my God, it was.
All right, so let's go back.
And
to
again,
the topics.
Being the first one, it always makes it worse.
Exactly. So now that that's being said, I want your opinion on this. So, new trend. I just saw it, and I think I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So the trend is that everyone walks down the aisle as normal, but before the ceremony starts, the officiant comes out to the center of the aisle.
And
faces the couple.
I've seen the clip.
So the couple,
the couple's looking at everybody,
looking at all their
so their guests and everything, and everyone gets to look right at them, as opposed to
as well as
videography probably gets a better shot too, right?
I think I love this. I just saw this week on TikTok or something, and I'm like, I'm going to start suggesting this to couples because I think it's so cool. Now, let's take that to part 2 because I literally just saw this TikTok today, which is having the bridesmaids and groomsmen stand on the opposite sides. So the guys always stand with the guys, the girls always stand with the girls.
Yes.
But the groom is always looking at the bridesmaids, and the bride is always looking at the groomsmen. So
gotcha.
The idea
so she looks at her peeps.
She's looking at her girls. He's looking at her guys. Whatever, etc. And again, 2 little things where it's nothing crazy. It's 2025. People are doing things their way, but I just like both concepts of I like the officiant in the middle because the couple gets the face, and I think it's cool that the guys. Now, the only negative here is that every photographer here is probably like, absolutely not, because they want the shots of the pictures. Okay, yeah. And I do get that, the best man and the maid of honor standing next to each other makes sense. But I just really like the idea of like, the groom looking down at his boys, who realistically, if you can picture a wedding ceremony, the groom is never looking at his groomsmen and the bride is never looking at her bridesmaids. And again, like, it's about obviously the couple and whatnot, but I don't know, it's just something different that I thought was pretty cool, and I think I'm going to try to start, interjecting that into ideas when we're doing weddings.
You know what I think it's interesting to totally like completely just like bring this to like the things that are happening now that are going to be the night, like look at it like this. So back in the day, the garter toss, all that, we talked about that before, and they were like staunch things. Something blue, everyone's heard that. Like, right, we have these like traditions. Like, we're starting something now potentially that could be
the standard
in 50 to another 50 to 100 years. Like, people are going to be doing this.
I was thinking like 5 to 10 years.
No, I'm going way long. And then I'm thinking like, let's say another 20 years from now, people are going to be like, I can't believe that's so old fashioned. But we're talking about the stuff that we're talking about now. In 30 years,
when people
it's going to be the old fashioned.
This podcast,
it's going to be like, like.
Harry's like, showing these to videos of people because
how old's Harry? 5?
Yeah.
So if he gets married when he's 25 to 30, that is another 25, 30 years. Like, he's going to be like, Dad, you're so antiquated.
I hope Harry's running the mix behind the mic and crushing in the
mix. Would be so funny. It's awesome.
So here's a new one, and I honestly don't know how I feel about this. Again, it's another thing I've seen on TikTok, and it's kind of funny, but it's a bingo card.
Bingo.
And the objective, and again, like before I even get into this, 90% of the time, I'm anti all games, everything. Right. Like, it's not me. Doesn't mean you can't do it, and don't hate me because I have an opinion.
You anti games as the vendor?
Yes.
Versus like
the
regular
dad, Harry, no. But listen,
we might have to have a vendor versus dad like segment on here eventually.
So I'm curious on how this plays out and what your thoughts are. And it's funny because we do like music bingo and stuff in our other brand.
Yeah.
But the music bingo card, and it's called Guess the Guest.
Guess the Guest.
And I
don't understand it. Please elaborate.
So the bingo card says, I'm left-handed. I've been friends with the bride for 15 years. I'm from X city.
Uh-huh.
I was the one that introduced the couple. These are all like things on a bingo card.
Yeah.
And obviously, without me reading more into the quick reel it's not like you're checking things off. It's
Right.
all 10
You have
of
to
12
guess.
of these
It's
things.
different. It's more
is
like a
gonna-
trivia kind of thing.
It's literally more trivia.
Gotcha.
Than, I don't know
Because I
why
was
it's bingo
confused at
card,
first, but yeah, that
it
makes
was like it was something that was like
it's kind of interesting.
quirky and cute that maybe it sits on like the table when they sit down and like people are talking about it, but it has nothing to do with the wedding. It's something on the side. It's a little chatter between guests. Again, it's not something I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Everyone should do this at the wedding.
Right.
But it's something that
It's an
has
idea. It's something
nothing
different.
to do with the timeline of the wedding, et cetera, et cetera. And I just thought it was something different and cool.
It sounds like one. Honestly, it sounds more fatty than anything else. I can see it. Right.
100%.
I can see it being like kind of like in and out kind of thing. But it definitely seems like it could be fun. But weddings are over in a blink. You get out there, you plan all this stuff. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years.
But hold on, let me cut you off for a second. That was my point of people are always looking for something new or something different. And again, TikTok and all these trends and Pinterest. And I feel like sometimes people try to do too much. So me bringing up this example of the bingo card is a perfect example because
You're doing a little more, but not too much.
it's not adding anything to the timeline.
Right.
It's not adding anything to it's just a little quirky, fun thing.
It's a touch. You're
And
adding
again,
a little
like
touch.
I'm not like actually we have a promo now if you call. I'm just kidding. But like I'm not promoting anything like that. It's just something that I saw today that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is like quirky and different. But like everyone always wants to do something different or add something that people have never saw before.
Right.
And expectations versus reality is that more than half of the time it's adding things into the timeline that's taking away from your dance floor or
Right.
from your your freedom of the rest of the night where doing too much sometimes is too much. You know what I mean?
I know all about it. I talk a lot. I try not to talk too much on this pod. So like I really temper my less is more. I could sit here and take over and just start. And again,
Yeah,
I don't
we got
know.
a
I don't
couple
mean it
minutes.
like that.
No,
I mean
I
it
know.
like as we're going, I try to temper my talk a little bit. If anyone knows me, I'm not one to. My wife would say I'm a lip flapper. So
A lip flapper.
she says it all the time. I don't know why. She loves that.
When I needed a host for this, I kind of knew where we were going from the jump, if you will.
What else we got up there? We got anything else?
I got one more, and then
Okay.
we're going to end this today.
All right.
And it's so strange because, and again, you've done photo booths over the years too, but I don't want to be a bad salesman because we offer photo booths, and 7 out of 10 people that book a photo booth, or excuse me, 7 out of 10 people that book a DJ with us book a photo booth. But I've been seeing some things on social media where brides are now saying that they don't want to get a photo booth because as a guest at other weddings, they've seen how many times the bride gets pulled to the photo booth
By people.
by the people that want to get a picture with the bride in the photo booth. And is that taking away from their
Right.
vibe and their energy? And again, I always stress to people that I tell people when they're talking about booking enhancements to spend the money on things that are going to enhance the vibes and the energy on the dance floor as opposed to a photo booth. Now, again, I want them to book both, let's be honest.
Right.
But it's one of them things where it's like, I don't necessarily disagree with the argument. It's such a catch-22 because realistically, for me and my thought process, I think in a perfect world at a reception, the couple should get in the photo booth immediately when it opens in the beginning, when they're still put together and it's not drinking, sweaty, et cetera, and then maybe once at the end of the night. But it almost goes back to the Irish exit, wedding Irish exit, hashtag wedding Irish exit. But it's one of them things where it's like, stop killing the vibe for the couple.
Right.
And if they're constantly getting dragged into the photo booth, is that really going to be something that starts to be less booked because couples are finding themselves getting constantly dragged into the photo booth? It's definitely a good topic. And
I can piggyback off that a little bit, and
you would know this more than me.
These are so. It's weird that the topics that you're bringing up that we didn't really plan. Like you had some
Sure.
topics, and I just happened to like. But this is funny because the wedding that I just did last Saturday, I was video, but I also helped run the photo booth, and the couple did not go in the booth the entire night. And I noticed it because we like to put a picture in the front.
Sure.
I like to have the first page be them, their strip. You know, we print out a couple big ones. We do a nice little book for them. They didn't go in the whole time. Now, I could have easily just packed the whole thing up, been done, rolled out, but I waited till so it was about 20 minutes left. And they were just having fun with their peeps. There's no way I'm pulling them off of the dance floor for the last 20 minutes of their wedding and be like, hey, I need you to go do a photo.
Amen. As I would yell at you if I knew.
I waited till the whole thing ended, let them say goodbye a little bit, left it up for like 5-7 minutes.
Venue, but go ahead.
And I didn't want, well, it was also in a totally different room, so it wasn't like, it didn't really matter that it was, and I knew we were going to be breaking down and taking a little, anyway, long story short, they ended up coming out, getting the picture at the end, put the front in the book. They were very happy about it.
Again, the objective of this pod is to talk about things that aren't talked about enough.
Yeah.
And
at the end of the day, we want everybody on the dance floor.
Right,
I mean, that's what I want as an MC. I don't want to see a dead dance floor. We want everybody out there having fun, high energy. Like, that's my goal. I feel like sometimes, and it has nothing to do with us, but we as DJs and MCs feel like we failed if people aren't dancing. Even if sometimes people just don't dance, right? Like, you might have an older families where they don't, you don't have as many young people, or the bride and groom just don't really like to dance. It's just, overall, sometimes there's just not a lot of dancing, and, it's hard because that's what our goal is.
Fair. I think that's going to do it for us today. Keith.
I had a blast. I love doing these things.
We always have fun. I wish this could just blow up and we could get paid to just sit here and talk about weddings and our experiences, because we both enjoy doing it.
I'll keep doing it for free, but
yes. People, you heard that. Thanks for coming out, guys. Hope you stick around for the next episode of The Mix Behind the Mic. My name's Harry. This is Keith. We'll see you next time.
Later.